we're ready to jump in to Raiders versus Chargers Week 4 preview. I'm going to go ahead and defer to Mike on this one as well. Mike, go ahead and say what you're looking forward to, what you're dreading, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this is another weird game where I don't fully know what to expect. For one thing, it's a divisional matchup, and every year, the Raiders face the Chargers, and it feels like they always split the series. They'll win one and they'll lose one. They might win one at home, lose away, or they might win away, even though there's going to be a lot of Raider fans in that stadium. And then lose at home. The Chargers just lost Mike Williams for the season. I honestly think that Austin Eckler will not play. I think that they're saving him for the bye week, which is the following week. And then come week 6, he will start playing again. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers think they can do that and pull out a win against us at this pace. But if they are without Eckler and Mike Williams, I also think this is a winnable game because Josh Kelly isn't getting it done for them. Keenan Allen's been scorching the earth, and Justin Herbert has been looking like an all-pro so far this season. I think in a similar fashion, but even worse than the Raiders, Brandon Staley has been holding this team back, the Chargers, with his decision-making. And then their defense has not been as good, again, just as last year, I want to say, as they look on paper. So if the Raiders can have a get-right game on offense, they can win this game. But after that performance against the Steelers, I have a hard time expecting that, So, yeah, I don't want to give my prediction until the end. I'll let you kind of get into this game, but I will admit this is winnable, but this is also a game where we could lose 34-10.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders, or I guess if the Chargers did lose this game, but I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I think that Justin Herbert is just so good. I think passing wise, he was 40 of 47 this past week.
Yeah.
And that was against the Vikings. They don't have a very strong defense, but I mean, one thing I can tell you, it seems as though the Raiders don't have a very strong defense as well. And the Raiders. I mean, you said that Kenny Pickett looked like Kenny Stabler, and I know you were just playing on the names, but I mean, Justin Herbert, he won't have Mike Williams, but I mean, he gets to reload with they still have a good wide receiver group. They've got Keenan Allen, like you said, who's been scorching the earth on my fantasy team, thankfully. If anybody from our league is watching, you guys said I reached for him, but he's looking pretty damn good, isn't he? I'm keeping receipts. It's a long season. We'll see if it holds. But were you gonna add something, Mike?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think of all your reaches, that one actually wasn't that bad. But anyways,
yeah.
And obviously now it's really good. So
yeah. They've got Keenan Allen, they've got Quentin Johnston, they've got Joshua Palmer. These are some pretty solid receivers, I would say. Quentin Johnston got taken in the first round. He's a big-bodied receiver. We'll see if he, slides right into Mike Williams's role, or if they use him and promote Josh Palmer to Mike Williams's role. I really don't I have no clue how they're going to do it there. Yeah. But I think that this is a good offense. And yes, they are missing Austin Eckler, but they're not really much of a ground game sort of team. Their running back involvement typically, at least with Eckler in the past, I feel like has been, a lot of the screen game. Get the running back open out in space, and he'll make a couple guys miss and just like wear down a defense over the course of a game. And the pass, I mean, Justin Herbert is able to deliver the ball downfield. I don't like the Raiders' chances in this one, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Chargers. And this is in LA, right? Not that it matters. There's going to be more Raider fans regardless, but
yeah, but it is in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, was that all you had?
That's pretty much all that I had. I'm going. Chargers are going to win against the Raiders. I would love to find out that I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be, unfortunately. I'm sorry to the Raider fans.
I feel like mentioning this stat, even though it's really not a big thing towards this game, but the bottom 5 in point differential through 3 weeks, the Bears are minus 59. So in other words, they're losing by 59 points if you put all 3 games together. Mm-hmm. Giants are minus 55, Broncos minus 53, Raiders the 4th worst at minus 32, and then Washington minus 28. Obviously, the Bills game has a big, deal to do with that, but the Niners are top 3, along with the Bills and Dolphins at the top. But the Chargers, I don't see them anywhere in this list. It was just bottom 5 and top 5. I think that the Raiders are going to have a hard time in this game. And like I said, it's either going to be the Chargers win by 13 and it's just like never in sight, or it's going to be a close game and it'll be a heartbreaker that Justin Herbert, wins at the end. Or it'll be a get-right game where the Raiders finally develop the run. Jimmy G shakes off the shit from week 3 and has a solid game, enough to win a game. Oh, fuck. Damn it. I was just about to pick the Raiders. I swear to you, I was just about to pick them. I was going to say, and that's the one I'm going to go for. I think they're going to have a get-right game and all that stuff. And I forgot until just now, Jimmy G might not play this game because he's in concussion protocol. And it's actually like I saw a tweet that he might his ability for this game is in doubt already.
It should be doubtful because I saw this statistic when Anthony Richardson got his concussion that there has yet to be a player that has gone into the concussion protocol that has returned sooner than 10 days.
Yeah. The most recent concussion protocol. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've seen some players though.
I think they're trying to be a little bit more patient with it because of what happened last year with Tua.
Yeah. I know I remember players getting out of it within 3 days, but that was probably like 2 years ago, and now it's completely changed and they're like being way more cautious. So unfortunately, yeah, it's entirely possible that Jimmy G doesn't even play. Fuck.
If it's Hoyer, there's no shot you guys are winning this game. If it's O'Connell, he could shock the world.
Yeah, I'll give you this. If Jimmy Garoppolo is inactive, well, if Brian Hoyer is the starter, I predict that the Raiders lose. If Aiden O'Connell is the starter, I predict that the Raiders win. So that is my I don't know what the term is, but at least I'm losing the term. My condition for my prediction. So we will come back next week, and we will have to remember that if Brian Hoyer was the starter at the beginning, the first snap of the game, I predict that they lose. But if Aiden O'Connell is the starter at the first snap of the game, I predict that they win. And also, if Jimmy G's a starter, I predict that they win. But if Brian Hoyer's a starter, I predict that the Raiders lose. But if it's Aiden O'Connell or Jimmy G, I say that the Raiders will win. And it's a get-right game.
Okay. See, I thought that this past week, I was like, yeah, I want to be all hopeful for the Raiders and everything. And I'm like, I feel like I didn't use my brain enough in my prediction. And I was like, the Raiders should have a bounce back game, but there's no should in the NFL. It's about what's going to happen in between the tackles and, what's going to happen on the field. I mean, there is should in the NFL. It's just, I have to see it again with the Raiders. I think they have to reprove it to me. And I'm going to pick the Chargers because that offense is really good. They went toe-to-toe with Miami, who just blew out the Broncos, who you guys had a close game with in week 1.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. I think that you're making the smarter decision here. I kind of just wanted to finally pick somebody different than you, but that's not my main reason. I think that the Raiders should have their backs against the wall. And I think there's no better there's not many better teams, especially in this division, to have your back against the wall and face than the Chargers, because again, somehow their head coach will just fucking blunder this game.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a close game, I see the Chargers choking, essentially. I can just see it now. And also, looking back on the Steelers game, it was oh, they have a pretty good defense. They definitely have a great pass rush. Although the previous week 2, they got killed by the Browns. But their offense isn't good. So that was kind of our reasoning for the Raiders winning, was I think they'll just outscore the Steelers offense and their defense might actually look good for once. Turned out that wasn't the case. But in this game, like I said, the Chargers could just outright outscore us and make us look bad, especially on defense. But I also think that the Chargers defense is not nearly as good as you would even think that they are or should be. And because of that, I could see a get-right game. I could see Josh Jacobs finally getting back to form. And I could see us winning. I really can. And again, if Eckler is out, the Raiders can stop the run. And it's just going to be Herbert versus the Raiders. I think that's what it'll end up being. It'll be Herbert and Keenan Allen versus the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I think we have a shot.
Mm-hmm. Here's one thing I'll say. Last week, my heart was telling me that the Raiders were going to win, but my mind was telling me Pittsburgh was going to win. This week, I kind of feel the same way. My heart tells me, the Raiders, my gut's like, yeah, the Chargers are going to fucking blow it. But my thought, when you actually process, I think maybe I'm giving the Raiders a little bit too much credit, in my gut. And I just think that the Chargers are a better football team.
I think the Chargers should be. This was my other thing I was going to say is it's entirely possible that the Steelers just have such a good defense, blah, 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 and the Bills are way better than us. And we are better than the Broncos. But what's possible is that that's not saying much. The Broncos are 0-3. They just got beat 70-20. And the week before that, they were getting beat by Washington. And then the following week, Washington gets killed by Buffalo, where their quarterback throws 4 interceptions. So maybe the Broncos are just that bad, and us beating them by 1 point in week 1 isn't saying much. And, we lose this game to the Chargers, and then week 5, I don't even know who we face, but it might be rough from then on,
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, if we're 1-3, let me look really quick. Sorry. And let's say week 5, we face. Let me look. Sorry. Jimmy Garoppolo game log.
How
Green
many
Bay
teams? How many teams make the playoffs
per
in each
conference 7.
conference now? 7. Yeah.
Mm.
So here's one thing. I mean, it doesn't really have to do with this week, but teams that I believe by the end of the season are a lock to make the playoffs in the AFC. I think the Chiefs are a lock. I think the Dolphins are a lock.
Bills.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much a lock to get to the playoffs.
You
The
take away
Bengals
week
won
1.
today, but
Yeah,
I don't
you
think they're
take
a
away.
lock yet.
No, not yet. They barely got out of the Rams. And then what I was going to say about the Bills is you take away week 1, a divisional game against the Jets where 9-11 and Aaron Rodgers gets down, and it was an emotional game, I'd say, for the Jets. And their defense really played their hearts out, and special teams, obviously. You take away that game, the Bills might actually secretly look like the best team in football right now, like just absolutely killing teams. But then again, they beat the Raiders in Washington, so it might not be saying much. But they definitely look like a top 5 team to me right now.
They definitely had back-to-back get right games,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But anyways, more AFC teams.
All right.
You think like the Browns, Ravens?
Are the Ravens 3-0?
I want to say they're 2-1. They just lost to the Colts.
The Ravens lost to the Colts
in overtime.
No way.
Yeah. It was a pretty bad call. There was something happened. There should have been a PI. There was a pass to Zay Flowers on 4th down or 3rd down, and the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
They lost to Gardner Minshew, not even Anthony Richardson. But yeah. All right, so I kind of feel like the Ravens are a lock to make the playoffs.
See, it's close. Okay. That division's giving me trouble. Like, I don't know who's going to come out on top of that division. Like, I still think the Bengals have a really good shot at it, but I think the Browns have a great shot at it, and I think the Ravens have a great shot at it. And now the Steelers are 2-1, and they probably have one of the better records in that division. So, or tied for first. It might be the 3 of them: Browns, Steelers, and Ravens.
2-1. Crazy. I think the Browns might win that division.
I was going to say that. I think right now, if I had to pick a team that looks the best, it's probably the Browns, because Lamar Jackson hasn't been consistent, and the Steelers haven't been consistent, and they got killed by the Browns, and the Bengals are probably a few plays in this Rams game for being 0-3.
Okay, so we have what, 3 or 4 locks? We've got Chiefs, Dolphins, Bills.
Let's say Browns.
Browns, you think are a lock? Yeah, I would say they're looking like a lock. That defense is good.
Yeah.
I think Watson's getting more comfortable returning to football.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could definitely see maybe their season spiral out of control. Nothing. The first 3 teams, I don't see them not making the playoffs.
100%.
So let's call the next couple teams, the next 4 teams in the hunt, and we'll give more than 4 teams, but teams in the hunt: the Browns, the Ravens, the Bengals. I guess you could throw in the Steelers in the hunt.
You can, but they won't make it. Their offense won't be able to do it, I don't think.
You got the Chargers in the hunt.
To me, you can take out the Raiders and Broncos. Maybe the Raiders can squeak their way into the hunt at the end, but I don't see it right now. That's probably just me coming off of a bad loss, but I don't know. I'm looking at their schedule a second ago, and I'm like, fuck, dude, we might start we could start 1-6,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
So here's a team. You know what? I'll give you. Okay, add that. Okay, first off, I'm going to go with the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. Okay, the Broncos and the Titans are not making the playoffs. Okay. I don't think the Raiders are making the playoffs, but there's a chance. But right now, looking at it, And considering the AFC, I don't see it. The Jets are not making the playoffs. Okay. And there, 16 teams. We're going to try to find 7 that are going to make it. So we need 9 teams to not make it out of the AFC, right? Is my math correct?
There's 16.
There's 16.
Yeah,
and
so
7 so 9. So we already have 4. The Patriots, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
No.
I add the Steelers, so that's 7. So I need 2 more.
Yeah, so let me look at AFC teams.
Well, basically what I was getting to is the AFC South is super interesting right now because the Jaguars are playing way lower than expected, whereas the Texans just beat the shit out of them. And the Colts look like they might actually be pretty solid. Like they won't they shouldn't win a playoff game unless Anthony Richardson pulls some crazy stuff out of his ass, but they could win that division. That division is wide open.
I think they will win that division.
I still think the Jaguars should, but they need to get right quick.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's either going to be the Jaguars or the Colts, but
I also think that the Texans they're kind of a sleeper. But I don't think the Texans should make the playoffs, so I would probably add the Texans to the list of teams that won't make it, but based off of the way that they played against the Jags, I would say the Texans have the edge on the Raiders, and also they're in an easier division. So,
yeah, well, I mean, the odds are heavily stacked against the Raiders this year in the AFC. But let's get back to Raiders Chargers. Final prediction. I've got the Chargers, and then you have got the Raiders if Jimmy or O'Connell starts, and you've got the Chargers if Hoyer starts.
Correct. Yep.